Hello everyone, that Manga Kid here to do my wrap up of the Spring Into Manga Love Readathon hosted by Shay Geeks Out. It was a week-long readathon, and I'm just going to get right into everything that I read. I started off with Volume 1 of Little Butterfly. This is a yaoi or boys love title, an older one put out by June. I really loved this. I only have this first volume. I got it for free from a friend of mine. Didn't know anything about it. It's basically this adorable boy who is interested in his classmate, who's a bit quiet, doesn't have any friends, doesn't talk to anybody, kind of standoffish and rude. But very quickly he realizes, oh, there's more to this boy than just his rude kind of demeanor, and he wants to know what's going on with him. And it deals with a lot of like family home issues, and they're just really sweet. I mean, this guy is not actually rude. He's just troubled and doesn't want to involve other people in his problems. But it's very hard to ignore this adorable boy. So it was really cute. I'm sad I don't have any more of it because I really, really enjoyed it. The art is nice, and yeah, it was just adorable. Next up, I read the first three volumes of the Takumi-kun series. This is an old blue yaoi series that takes place at an all-boys boarding school, and Takumi is our main character here. And it follows his relationship with this guy whose name I don't remember, and each volume is like a different. This is June Pride, Barefoot Waltz, Tales Out of Season. Follows the same group of characters, but each is kind of like a standalone story about their life, and it's quite good. I actually really enjoyed it. Again, this is one I got for free from a friend of mine, and I didn't know anything about it. I think there's like 12 volumes or something, and I don't know if they were all released physically, but it's a very good series, and there's a lot of like love rivals and whatnot, and there's a lot of BL stuff going on because it is an all boys boarding school, and yeah, it was quite good. Next up, another one I got for free from my friend, Kire Papa. This was not as disturbing as I thought it was going to be based on the synopsis. Um, it's basically this this boy and his father. His father is very protective of his son, and because a bunch of boys like him because he's so cute, and his father likes to chase all these boys away and chase all his son's friends away. Turns out that the friends that he's chasing away don't actually like his son; they like him, and so this is an age gap. Um, but yeah, it was fine. It was better than I thought it was going to be because I was a little put off by by the synopsis. But I don't have any more of this. I will not go searching for more of this. If I happen to come across more of it for free, then sure. But I'm not going to search for more of that. Next up, another one that I got for free. This is a 3 volume series, Can't Win With You. Very adorable art. Another old June title. This one, more caution for this one. I really enjoyed it, but there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of sexual assault in this series, which is very disappointing because of how adorable all these characters are. And I really like the characters. I really like the story of it. It's this boy who there's a preps, like a very prestigious rich boy all boys boarding school situation that wants to expand their campus. They want to have a campus out in the country, and this boy owns land, and he agrees to rent out his land to this school. And then he also gets a chance to go to this prestigious school because he is the landowner. And all these rich boys, are uh, intrigued and not thrilled by this tiny, not rich dude kind of controlling their school. I enjoyed it, and once I got past all of the assault storylines, um, I did really, really like it. But just a caution for that one, um, that if you are put off by a lot of that unconsensual sexual behavior in yaoi manga, just skip this one. Next up, I read volume 1 of Planet Ladder. This is an old Tokyo Pop title. It's a 7-volume series. I only own 6 volumes. Um, it's pretty good for what it is. It's like a fantasy title. She is clearly some kind of savior who was on Earth, but gets kind of kidnapped and back to this other dimension or planet or world, and she doesn't know what's going on because she's just a regular high school or middle school student. I don't remember how old she is, but clearly she is meant to save the universe or something, but she doesn't really understand what's going on. And in this volume, you don't really get a lot of answers. It's just kind of an introduction to clearly she's not actually from Earth. She had just been kind of biding her time there while the other, you know, world's beings were waiting to get her back. I'm not really entirely clear on what's going on in this volume, honestly, but it's intriguing enough, and the art is quite nice. So, and the characters seem funny. So, next up, volume 5 of My Love Story. I'm rereading this because I read it originally from the library, but now I own the whole thing, so I'm just kind of slowly but surely making my way back through it. Most people know what this is. Then I read the Kindaichi case files, The Headless Samurai. This was a good one, very thick, a bit of a longer one. I like this series. I don't have any more of it that I haven't read yet, but it's a nice older detective story about this high school kid who is very good at figuring out murder um, crime scenes and figuring out who did it. And it's usually a locked room scenario. Usually, it's always involves death. At least all the ones I've read so far. And he is solving a murder mystery. It's a very formulaic sort of situation. It's always locked room, large cast of characters, and uh, figuring out who is the um, uh, who's guilty, basically. But I enjoy them. They're pretty good, and they're a nice little mystery story that's, fun, and I know what I'm gonna get when I read these. Next up, volume 8 of Shortcake Cake continues to be a good series. This volume I liked less than all the others I've read so far. Um, I don't know. It was just not a lot happened, and also, like, I don't want to open it and spoil things, but I feel like the art has changed, and maybe I'm just losing my mind. But the characters look different to me, not necessarily on the cover, but inside. Like, their faces just look very different, and I didn't like it. I really, really liked the art, especially at the beginning of the series, and it was one of the things that really drew me in. And for some reason, I can't figure out what the difference is, but in this volume, I kept looking at their faces thinking that something was wrong. So I'm not sure what that's about, and maybe it's just me, but yeah, I don't know. It was kind of weird, and it was distracting me throughout the whole thing. I couldn't really focus on what was going on because I just kept looking at their faces thinking they don't look right. I don't know why. Um, Next up, I read volume 2 of Honey and Clover. This is an excellent series. This is set in an art college, and so it's a bunch of college students. It's about kind of first love. It's about um, finding your way in the world and being independent and trying to figure out you know what you're going to do with your life and how you're going to make your dreams come true, or whatever. There's a lot of dialogue in this series, but it's very lighthearted. It's very slow paced, extremely slow paced. I read it very slowly because I really love it, and I only have the first 5 out of 10 volumes, so I didn't want to read. I don't want to binge read it and then not have any more to read, so I'm very slowly reading this. Next up, I read the second omnibus of Master Keaton. This is old Naoki Urasawa, and there's a couple more names there as well. Title about this insurance investigator who is also a historian, and um, it's an action, also kind of mystery series because you're trying to figure out, or he's trying to figure out a bunch of insurance fraud claims and all this kind of stuff, but it's very action packed, and I will be making a first impressions video on these first two omnibus volumes that I've read. This one here was a reread, Utsubora, The Story of a Novelist, Asumiko Nakamura. I love this title. I haven't read it in a couple years, I think, and the first time I read it, I was quite confused, but this time I really, really slowly read through it because I knew it was a bit confusing, and I understand what exactly happened now, which is good because the first time I read it, I was quite confused, and I can't remember if I've read it again since then, but this is at least the second time I've read it. And the art is gorgeous. I love Asumiko Nakamura. It's quite explicit, so I gotta be careful with what I'm showing, but um, like her character designs, the way she does her backgrounds and things, I just really love it. It's a mysterious story. It's a mystery kind of psychological story, and it is so well done. It's just a one shot in this large omnibus. Very, very good. Yeah, absolutely blown away reading it this time because I really understood it more since I read it slowly and carefully. Next up, The Man Without Talent, Yoshihara Suge. I was so excited for this. A lot of the alternative manga I read reference Yoshihara Suge, so I was very excited to see we'd be getting some of his works in English, and this one was excellent. I will be making a review video about this for sure. It's really, as far as alternative manga go, really, really well done. Next up, I read the first 4 volumes of Awkward Silence, Another Boy's Love, that I got for free from my friend. This was excellent. I didn't really know what to think of this. This is about this boy here who is very like straight-faced. He doesn't really show his emotions ever. He's just a very calm kind of yeah, like his face is always blank, but he's not a boring character inside. He's feeling so many things. He just doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve. So he's just this adorable guy who in his head has all these little like chibi moments of being cute and adorable and flustered and whatever emotions, but it just doesn't show on his face. And he meets this guy who they start dating. He's a baseball player at his high school, and he's a popular guy, and he just confesses to him. And what I really liked about this story is that it literally, from the first page, he's getting confessed to. They start dating, and it's about their relationship, not their build up to a relationship or the awkward, oh my god, does he like boys? Do I like boys? Whatever. It's just like, no, we're both guys. I guess we both like each other, and we're just gonna date and see how it goes. And they're adorable, and there's no wishy-washy consent between these two. And yeah, and then we get into the other couple and some other things. But the first volume has like confession, dating, school trip, love rival. I was like, are we getting a whole series in one volume here? But there's more. Unfortunately, the final 2 volumes I do not have, because this was amazing. I would have read the whole series had I had it in my possession. This is so good. I'm very happy to have this. And then next up, I read Not Simple by Natsume Ono. This is a one-shot that I've read many times. I love this. First of all, I love Natsume Ono's works, but Not Simple, I read at least once a year, but sometimes a couple times a year. Uh, it's it's not a happy story. It's about this kid, Ian. He's not a kid, actually. He's an adult, who has had a very, very, very troubled life. And it's a novelist who meets Ian and befriends him and wants to tell the story of Ian's life because it's so unbelievably uh, horrible that he can't believe that someone's experienced all of these things. And Yeah, it's very sad, but at the same time, like I just can't ever, put it down. I've read it so many times, and I love Natsume Ono. And then speaking of Natsume Ono, after reading Not Simple, I was in a Natsume Ono mood and decided to pick up House of Five Leaves again. This is a really beautiful, slow-paced story about this. I think he's a swordsman, um, usually hired as a bodyguard, but he's not very good at his job because he's very timid and embarrassed in front of crowds. And so he ends up meeting these um, kidnappers, thieves, the Five Leaves, and basically kind of joins up with their unsavory actions and joins their group. And it's a story of him kind of meeting all these people who are part of the Five Leaves and learning about their operation and trying to figure out their motives for doing what they're doing. And yeah, it's pretty good. I really love it. I've read it, I think, 3 or 4 times now. The anime is also fantastic. Um, very, very good. One of Natsume Ono's longer series, definitely her longest in English at 8 volumes, but well worth it. And these beautiful Viz signatures are just wonderful. Um, highly, highly recommend reading House of Five Leaves if you have not, and you enjoy Natsume Ono, or you enjoy just like slow paced kind of samurai stories. Yeah, it's a very character driven story, and it's really beautiful. So I read the full thing of that again. And then another reread for me, Helter Skelter, Fashion Unfriendly. This is Kyoko Okazaki. Uh, I read this from my library years ago, actually. I think one of the first videos on my channel is a review of this. And, but I bought it at least a year, maybe more than a year ago, because I knew I loved it and wanted to own it, but it was still in plastic wrap, and I only unwrapped it to read it for this readathon, because I hadn't read it since I got it from the library. This one I might do a reread review of because now after reading it again, I have more thoughts. And it was a bit more clear to me what happened. I found that the first time I read it, that the characters, some of them looked very similar, and I couldn't tell who was who, and it made it very confusing. But this time I paid more attention. Same as Utsubora, I paid more attention and really uh, kind of grasped the story a bit better. But this is basically about this idol model person who is she's undergone full body plastic surgery basically, and is slowly but surely physically and mentally deteriorating over the course of her very short-lived career. And it's, the perspective of reporters reporting on what happened to her, from her perspective, from her kind of management team's perspective of just like how her life crumbled. It is not a happy read by any means. It's very quite disturbing at times, but it's very, very well done. And then I read 2 more volumes of Planet Ladder, volumes 2 and 3. Goes a bit into more of how this universe works, and kind of, I still don't know who she is exactly, or we don't know who she is exactly at this point, but we're just kind of learning as you go about this world and why she is so important in it. And then I wanted to finish off Rosario Vampire because I started it a while ago when I bought the box set, and then just kind of fell off of reading it. So this is season 2, volume 8. We're already into like pretty much the final battle at this point. And it's it's very entertaining. And these covers are excellent. I read some of Rosario Vampire when I was much younger, like 12 or 13 years old, and then just never read more of it because I think I had either caught up with it at that point, or I was reading it from my library and maybe I just fell off of reading it for whatever reason. So it's a bit nostalgic, even though I hadn't read these particular volumes. It's nice to revisit these characters and get the finale of the story at this point. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a pretty interesting series, and it's more than what it seems, I think. Um, but I will definitely be doing a full series review now that I have finally finished it. This is the final volume. Very thick volume. But these are just Shonen Jump titles that are pretty quick to read, so I flew through these pretty quickly on the last day of the readathon, actually. So, yeah, was happy to finish off Rosario Vampire. And then I wanted to round off on an even number because I think I had read 29 volumes by that point, and I wanted to read 30 because I didn't want to stop at 29. So I decided to pick up another Natsume Ono title, Ristorante Paradiso, which is another one shot, very thin. I do have the spin off series Gente, the 3 volume spin off as well, but I didn't read that. I just read this one for today. But I've read them all before. But another really slow pace. This one's set in Italy, as most of her stories are. About this young girl, she's like 20, I think, or 21, who goes to Italy or goes to reunite with her mother, who kind of abandoned her a long time ago, and she is married to a man who owns a restaurant with old men in glasses as the employees, and she kind of falls for this older gentleman, Claudio. Um, and it's just kind of a slow paced story about that. Anyway, that's all I read for the Spring into Manga Love Readathon. I had a lot of fun participating, even though I'm still working and I still have a lot of other stuff on my plate right now, so I'm quite impressed with how much I was able to read, because I really didn't have high hopes at all for getting some reading done. I do particularly like to read stuff I've never read before when I do readathons, because it's a good way to get rid of my TBR shelf, but for this one I really was kind of in a slump and wanted to just read stuff that I knew that I liked. And so I did read some new stuff, but I also did a lot of rereading for this readathon, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Just yeah, I quite enjoyed myself, so thank you to Shay for hosting this readathon. And yeah, thanks for watching.